In the last video, we checked how community-driven risk management balances exposure to water shortage. Now, community awareness provides incentives for water conservation, which is another factor that increases urban water resilience by means of reducing water consumption. This is also a balancing loop. The increasing levels of consumption lead to a higher probability of water shortages, increasing community awareness. This triggers water conservation behavior that eventually reduces the rate of consumption. We call this process water demand management. So far, the mechanisms for managing exposure to water shortages are reactive, as community awareness is driven by the exposure of shortages. How can community awareness be strengthened from a preventative approach? Community awareness increases the level of interaction and engagement of the population, which on one hand leads to increasing levels of community empowerment and social capital, and on the other hand leads to increasing levels of social learning. Both variables have a positive feedback to community awareness. We call these processes raising community awareness. They are reinforcing loops. Increasing community awareness leads to increasing social learning, social capital, and community empowerment, which increase community awareness even more. Social learning is also fostered by water conservation practices, which leads to water-saving skills and knowledge, reinforcing water conservation practices in the community. We call this process learning effect from successful practices. Additionally, community empowerment and building social capital has an institutional consequence. With higher levels of community empowerment, social demands for authority support increases, which eventually materialize in more responsive institutional settings. This favors the level of interaction and community engagement, increasing even more community empowerment. Finally, feasibility of water risk management plans increases the level of interaction and engagement process that we call quality risk management and planning based on community awareness. This is the initial model that will guide our discussion in Singapore. What do you think? Please let us know to what extent you agree with what we have presented to you. For organizing your feedback, please answer the following questions. Name 3 additional variables that you would include and show us how to connect them to the model. Do you think there are variables that we can skip or leave out? And how can we adapt this model for facing flood risk situations? We are waiting for your feedback. Remember, building urban water security for our future is in our hands. Do not hesitate to send us pictures by hand proposing your ideas. Just make sure it's clear enough. Okay, thanks for your attention and see you next time.
Created using Powtoon.